I told you they'd implode Europe and announce a Bank of the World. And I told you after they imploded all these other countries and got trillions more, they would announce an undemocratic system. And they're doing it. These are tyrants openly who think they're invincible. I got news for you, they're not. In fact, this whole Invincible Act is nothing but an act. They actually realize how powerless they are when you wake up, get motivated, and get angry, and stop believing in them. And start telling the truth. But see, the truth is so horrible, it's hard for people to get a grip on it. Now, let me continue here. This is Watson's and mine prelude to the big report tomorrow. But listen, geoengineering, our environment is under attack. The greatest public health threat can no longer be denied. Prisonplanet.com. Monday, November 14th, 2011. The fact that the planet is being bombarded with chemicals from high-altitude spraying as part of numerous geoengineering programs being conducted by the U.S. government, I would add other governments, I would add by the globalist, in a globally coordinated program, I'm going to have that added to the article, and universities that have been approved with no oversight whatsoever can no longer be denied. The reclassification of global warming, a highly contentious and often scientifically fraudulent pseudoscience, as a national security threat has been exploited by governments as an excuse to play God, greenlighting secret experiments on a massive scale that carry innumerable dangers to humans and their environment. However, now that increasing awareness of geoengineering as a result of the chemtrails phenomenon has promulgated widely, authorities, not servants, but authorities, masters, are slowly being forced to disclose certain aspects of the program. We are now not far away from full disclosure of the true extent of the geoengineering experimentation. You are being experimented on like a lab rat, folks. Your children are. Scientists, but they're being killed slowly, so I guess it's okay, isn't it? As long as they don't do it insultingly and tell you they're doing it, it's kind of cute. With all the new degenerative diseases, you can just join a club of victims of it and kind of make it into your community and get angry at folks that tell you why it happened. You don't want to hear that. You just want a pity party now. Scientists now admit that vapor trails from aerosol airplanes are creating, quote, artificial clouds that block out the sun. We have links to all these claims. This is no longer a matter of debate. The chemtrail conspiracy theorists were proven correct. Reading professor of the University of Reading, Keith Shine, told the Daily Mail last year that the clouds formed by aircraft fumes could linger for hours, depriving those areas under busy flight paths such as London and the home counties of summer sunshine. Experts have warned that as a result, the amount of sunshine hitting the ground could be reduced by as much as 10%. Actually, we have links to articles saying it's 22 worldwide, 22%. Professor Shine added, over the busiest areas in London and the south of England, this high-level cloud could cover the sky, turning bright sunshine into haze conditions for the entire area. I expect the effects will get worse as the volume of air traffic increases. It's not the air traffic. See, they'll just have a new tax, but keep the poisoning going. We have the patents where they mix it with the jet fuel, and the companies don't even know. At the higher level, the execs do. The report also makes reference to a 2009 Met Office study, that's the London police, which found that high-level winds did not disperse contrails that later formed into clouds, which covered an astonishing 20,000 miles. Of course, only the completely naive would suggest that there is no connection between chemtrails that block out the sun, a phenomenon that has been ongoing for over a decade, and open calls on behalf of scientists to reduce global warming by injecting the atmosphere with aerosols. I'm going to have Aaron Dykes, who's the big researcher here on this, create a bullet article tomorrow just with bullet points with documents where they admit all this and what their master plan is. Mainstream science and academia has gone from dismissing chemtrails as a fantasy of paranoid conspiracy theorists to now accepting that they exist, but claiming that they are natural and not artificially induced, despite numerous patents and scientific proposals by top globalists, I would add, that focus around using man-made dispersal of aerosols to alter the atmosphere. And now the government's proposing it, admitting they tested it. See, first they denied it, and they said, oh, yeah, we're doing it. No big deal. Just move along. The proposal to disperse sulfur dioxide in an attempt to reflect sunlight was discussed in a September 2008 London Guardian article titled Geoengineering, the Radical Ideas to Combat Global Warming, in which Ken Caldera, a leading climate scientist based at the Carnegie Institution in Stanford, California, promoted the idea of injecting the atmosphere with aerosols. It was the Stanford Research Institute that certified in 1964 weaponization of weather through chemtrails and other systems under Dr. Ben Livingston, who first blew the whistle on our show. One approach is to insert scatterers into the atmosphere, states the article. Caldera cites an idea to deploy jumbo jets in the upper atmosphere and deposit clouds of tiny particles there, such as sulfur dioxide, dispersing around 1 million tons of sulfur dioxide per year across 10 million square kilometers of the atmosphere would be enough to reflect away sufficient amounts of sunlight, he wrote. Experiments similar to Caldera's proposal are already being carried out by the U.S. government-backed scientists, such as those at the U.S. Department of Energy, DOD, Savannah River National Laboratory in Aiken, South Carolina. We have links to all of this, who in 2009 began conducting studies which involved shooting huge amounts of particulate matter, in this case, porous walled glass microspheres, into the atmosphere. The project is closely tied to the idea by Nobel Prize winner Paul Crutzen, who proposed sending aircraft 747s to dump huge quantities of sulfur particles into the far reaches of the stratosphere to cool down the atmosphere. In 2008, scientist Tim Flannery also warned that mankind might need to pump sulfur into the atmosphere to survive, adding that sulfur, giant gas sulfur, could be inserted into the Earth's atmosphere to keep out the sun's rays and slow global warming, a process called global dimming. And funny, since they started this in 1995, you can go look where they started the test. Not test, it's a global program, bigger than Manhattan Project, that the Earth has dimmed 22%. In fact, while I'm searching that, I don't think Paul linked to it, type in global dimming and then click on BBC, and it says 22% over Europe and then 30% in other areas of the world. But overall, it's over 20. Continuing, such programs merely scratch the surface of what is likely to be a gargantuan and overreaching black budget funded project to geoengineer the planet with little or no care for the unknown environmental consequences that could engender. Well, it was admitted to be national security in the 90s when they did this. Given that sulfur emissions cause global dimming, is it any wonder, oh, Paul did link to it, I thought I didn't read that the emergence of the chemtrails phenomenon coincided with the average 22% drop in sunlight reaching the Earth's surface. What is known about what happens with the environment is loaded with sulfur dioxide is bad enough, since the compound is the main component of acid rain, which according to the EPA causes acidification of lakes and streams and tributaries, to damage of trees at high elevation, for example, red spruce trees above 2,000 feet, and trees are dying all over Hawaii, all over California, all over everywhere. And many, and the arborists and experts are out saying it's aluminum and stuff, and many sensitive forest soils. In addition, acid rain accelerates the decay of building materials and paints, inducing irreplaceable buildings, statues, and sculptures that are part of the nation's cultural heritage. That's nothing compared to our brains, ladies and gentlemen. That's the real crime here. The health effects of bombarding the skies with sulfur dioxide alone are enough to raise serious questions about whether such programs should even be allowed to proceed. The following health effects are linked with sulfur: neurological effects and behavioral changes, disturbance of blood circulation, heart damage, effects on the eyes and eyesight. But bigger than that, this is about testing a global secret program to test agents and cadres by spying on their phone lines to see who will be part of other programs to spray chemical and biological agents that are more deadly, which we know are also been declassified tens of thousands of times, generally by fixed-wing aircraft at low altitudes. This is a government that takes foster kids and radiates them to death on record. Oh, but they wouldn't do this, though. Continuing, reproductive failure. This is what sulfur does. damage to immune systems, stomach and gastrointestinal disorder, damage to liver, kidney functions, hearing defects, disturbance of the hormonal metabolic system, problems with the skin and dermatology, suffocation and lung embolism. Now, that's nothing. Because then page after page gets into aluminum. It gets into, oh my God, oh boy, it's bad. According to the Lintech website, laboratory tests with test animals have indicated that sulfur can cause serious vascular damage in the veins of the brains, the heart, and the kidneys, especially when inhaled. These tests also have indicated that certain forms of sulfur can cause damage and birth defects in babies. Mothers can even carry sulfur poisoning over to their children through mother's milk. Finally, sulfur can damage the internal enzyme systems of animals. Even pro-geoengineering scientist Mark Watson admits that injecting sulfur into the atmosphere could lead to acid rain, ozone depletion, or weather pattern disruption. And again, they just say, oh yeah, we've been doing some tests for the Earth. Nothing to do with that. Rutgers University meteorologist Alan Roebuck also created computer simulations indicating that sulfur clouds could potentially weaken the Asian and African summer monsoons, reducing rain that irrigates the food crops of billions of people. State Department Memorandum 200. That's what this is all about, population reduction. Imagine if we triggered a drought and famine while trying to cool the planet, Roebuck told a geoengineering conference last year. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, we tried to cool the planet and shut off the Africans' water, or the Texans' water. The Canada-based Action Group on Erosion, Technology, and Concentration has called for such experiments to be shut down. The experiment is only phase one of a much bigger plan that could have devastating consequences. And what has Bill Gates invested $5 billion in? He has invested $5 billion in deploying all of this. He wants government contracts, including large changes in weather patterns such as deadly droughts, the group said in a written statement. Fred Singer, president of the Science Environmental Policy Project and a skeptic of man-made global warming theories, warns that the consequences of tinkering with the planet's delicate ecosystems could have far-reaching dangers. Why are you worried? Our own government and the Russians as well detonated high-powered H-bombs in the upper atmosphere, blowing holes in it in the 60s. Why stop? They're playing God. Don't get in their power trip's way. If you do this on a continuous basis, you could depress the ozone layer and cause all kinds of other problems that people would rather avoid, said Singer. Well, like cutting carbon dioxide plants breathe? Don't tell the globalists that. Even Greenpeace chief UK scientist, a staunch advocate of man-made global warming explanation, Doug Parr, has slammed attempts to geoengineer the planets as outlandish and dangerous. Stephen Schneidler of Stanford University, who proposed a bizarre plan to send spaceships into the upper atmosphere that would be used to block out the sun, admits that geoengineering could cause conflicts between nations if geoengineering projects go wrong. Oh, yes. As we have reportedly highlighted, numerous universities and government agencies have been conducting studies in the field of geoengineering for years. Well, of course, the Pentagon could control hurricanes, Stanford Research Institute certified by 1964. But, oh, it doesn't matter. Here's Wikipedia. They say it's a conspiracy theory. Wikipedia still says it's a conspiracy theory that global government's being set up, even as it's admitted.